I'm sure if you look hard enough or you listen hard enough,
what if I look farther enough?
You may see Elvis.
Well, isn't that kind of like if I'm trying to look hard enough, but I'm having a stroke? And it's kind of weird. But we don't
Jordan
address it.
is looking hard enough, but then again, that's
Jordan checked out. Man. And welcome back to another Linux Gamecast Weekly show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. And we don't do the intro thing anymore because we have timestamps. Hi, everyone. How's it going? I'm Old Man Ben. Here at LGC Actual in Athens. It's beautiful, wet, rainy, kind of like Britannia. That's one pager Mateus who's hanging out there.
Pretty much, yeah.
In the morning. Yes, and the cold man up north, our tamed Canadian podcaster. Burr, the man of Burr. One Jordan Fang together with you at home. Shadowrealm Dynamic helping us form Cocaine Voltron. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how's everybody doing? Are we feeling sexy? Jordan, what's up, man? I'm just thinking about sexiness, and I'm looking at that shirt, and it's just not working for me, man.
I mean, I don't wear this shirt to have sex. I wear the shirt to fuck.
I wear this shirt because I am sex.
Yeah. Listen, if you listen, I've tried to bring up Sexy Jordan before, and we just keep getting banned on Twitch. No, my back's almost recovered, which is nice.
Right on.
Yeah. Most of the pain is gone when I wake up. So we're gonna see if we can start deadlifting again this week, not tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm gonna still take it easy.
That's like a 2-week recovery on that one.
Yeah, two weeker. Yeah.
Oof. Pedro, do you got some new boots or something?
Oh hell no! I'm at cost contention till not next week, but the week after that, because that's when I get paid. So, yeah.
Nothing but raging excitement with us. We're getting old. It's like, yes, I needed this sweater.
My hip stopped hurting. I can finally go walk at the mall at 11 o'clock in the morning again.
11 o'clock, man? What are you getting up so late, dude? They're like 5 o'clock, like circling, waiting to get in.
No, man, because Shul lets out at 9. And it takes me 2 hours to get to the mall because I'm old.
Man, I benchmarked some things. We played around with some Vulkan earlier this week, working on a video for OBS broadcasting. Man, if you're like thinking about doing it with Linux and OBS, I'm finishing up a guide on that. So stay tuned. Even Frank, man, Frank might get into broadcasting. He might. Unlike the horse.
Frank's a bit of a drama queen, though.
Dude.
Yeah, the horse just doesn't like show up on time. He's one of those employees who like is late and shows up drunk because it's just shows his nipples everywhere because it's the Steam update of the week sale.
Dun. Steam database, ladies and gentlemen, leaked upcoming. Yeah, come on, it's a leaked Steam sale. It's like, yes, hey, look, ooh, surprise! If somebody had to pay you money to act surprised about this, you couldn't do it.
Oh wait, the Halloween sale
was it the translators again?
Halloween. Well, this from Steam Database on the Twitters, man. He's like, multiple developers have posted this in multiple places, despite Valve asking otherwise. But you know how that goes. Yes, we do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Give me them digits, girlfriend. Halloween sale, October 28th, November 1st. Autumn sale, 26th through the 3rd of December. And winter sale, 19th December through January 2nd. So basically from tomorrow until whenever, right?
Yeah, babe. Last week at the end of the month, shit goes on sale.
Yep, pretty much.
Am I alone with this? How many times has this happened to you? You're like, because you know when you're going to get stacked sales. You know, you're like 2 for the winter, like spring and summer. Like, I'll get this game because it'll be 30% off. I'm like, next time.
It's a bit of a gamble though, because sometimes it'll go on sale for one sale, and you think, oh, the next one it'll be cheaper, but then it doesn't go on sale.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then you forget about it. Then maybe it comes up later. Then like, I should have gotten it because it's not quite as good.
Yeah. You could have saved yourself like $3, and you're like, God damn it, that's like.
But that's the good thing about the wish list. You always get an email. It's like, yo, game you have on the wish list is there, so go get it.
This is true, but have you ever just hate bought a game? You're like, fine, you know what? F this. I don't care about the deal anymore. It's a one-play game, and usually never end up playing it.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. We're just like, you know what? I just want to try it out. You hate it, and you're like, fuck. Oh,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You're emotionally spent. You're just like, okay, so we got to move on.
yeah.
Maybe you can move on to some music.
Yeah, all right. So apparently, this comes from the Steam DB Twitter again, which is a super accurate source. Valve has implemented a music type app, which means that you can now track album sales separately, meaning that you no longer need to buy a game if you're interested in checking out the soundtrack. Because apparently people buy music on Steam that doesn't come bundled with their games. I mean,
that might not be the intention, but I can see a lot of people who like the music and just want to buy it, and it's more money for not a whole lot of work for the developers.
Well, so Ven kind of hit on what I was trying to imply, and I was going to grill you on it, but
all right.
you go and say it on in the show notes. Yeah, ooh, spicy nipples. That's the show title. Yeah, but it really does depend on the terms in which that music was sold or leased to the game publisher, right, or the developer. I think it's very uncommon that music creators will sell the rights to the music that they create outright. Generally, it's done on like a royalty basis so that you can still profit off the fruits of your labor.
For video games, that is very uncommon. Usually it's whole cloth work. If you get commissioned to do a song or a soundtrack, that's the game companies from then on out. There's no royalties structure, any of that. You sell.
Hence the whole Alex Mauer thing a while back.
Tell that to Tim Sweeney, am I right?
Well, you could tell that to Team Sweeney, but no one's really wanting to listen, and GameSpot, of all places, decided to write an article.
That's a name I haven't heard in a long... Also, you got auto-playing videos. Dying to fire GameSpot.
Yeah.
At least it's muted,
they
but...
made an article saying that the Devolver Digital boss, Master CEO himself, wanted to... sort of reset the whole discussion around the Epic Store versus Steam and the exclusivity deals and whatnot, something which Devolver themselves are a bit guilty of since they bought into the whole exclusives for a couple of their games. So yeah, and he makes some good points. It's like, okay, everyone on one side of the fence is saying, oh, but the Epic Store is new, the usual bullshit reasons, so they shouldn't be expected to have the same level of quality. But yeah, Steam has been around, and Steam sort of defined the benchmark that online retailers should have for video games, at least on PC. So Epic, just like everyone else, has had 15 years or 15, almost 16 years to create their own stores. And so that kind of reason's kind of bullshit.
I mean, yeah, if you look at Uplay or you look at Origin or whatever, they have shopping carts and shit too. Yeah, but I mean, this conversation keeps coming up, and I guess we have to continue talking about it until we're blue in the face. But again, Valve is far from the mustachio tying women to railroad tracks, old-timey epic villain that Epic paints it out to be. Like, the article is pretty clear, like, hey, back then, Steam actually paid out, like, monthly and accurately, which is a thing that a lot of retailers didn't do in the past, and Steam was super critical in establishing proper retailer supply chains, unlike, say, Desura, who did not pay their developers.
Yep. But you can say, like, up until like 4 years ago, getting your game on Steam was winning the lottery. Like, you had arrived. That was almost a guaranteed check. Then we had Greenlight, early access, and now we have PlayStation, Elon Musk car hentai simulation 9000.
It's a very sexy game.
The DLC is quite tasteful.
Quite.
All things considered, yes, having a free market will bring with it a lot of shit, but at the same time, it's better than having a company curate to just the kinds of games that they're okay with. And that's the thing that no one is actually talking about, is how limited the game choices are on the Epic Store. And Epic themselves are buying exclusives, but only within certain genres and only certain games that
right now
foresee
Epic's
themselves
strategy
as
is cutting checks and seeing if that works.
Well, to your point, Ven, getting on the Epic store is kind of like winning the lottery because you get a big fat check for basically nothing.
And you don't even need to sell the game. That's the thing.
Well, we already had the developer, I forget who it was, a couple of weeks back. They're like, hey, we would like your game to be an exclusive. And guys like, nah, that's not how we roll. However, we'd like to be on the Epic store. And they're like, no, we're not interested in you being on this
That was the
store.
developer of Dark. With a Q.
Dark Q.
Yeah.
Hey, good news, everyone. Shadow of Mordor, the game released by Feral, it's been like, what, 3 years now? 4 years?
Yeah, something like that.
Didn't run all that great. Never did run all that great, but I mean, it was playable. It worked, but they went back.
It worked fine if you had an Intel processor.
That's still questionable, man. Toggle, what do they call theirs? IndirectX.
Yeah.
That's what they were using. That was their library wrapper. But they've updated it to include a Vulkan beta that you can just click in, enable, and it's some serious business. I'll skip ahead. I did a little just benchmark to see how it's running. And this is on my 2060 on the Threadripper. The OpenGL is running like poo, like it always has on a 2060. It's averaging 44. DXVK with Proton, it's in the hundreds, coming in like that. Vulkan is smooth. You see that number at the bottom? That's as low as it goes, and it's only like it dipped into 67, but I mean, it's just rising up like a lot smoother, a lot cleaner. Oh God, look at those dorks. You can try it. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. And I tried it again at UHD 3840 by 2160. And again, this is on our video toaster, a 2060, not a super. The benchmark, it was hitting just 60 just at like 62. And then I tried getting the game proper on Ultra at UHD. It could hit 60. It was like 60, 65. Sometimes you look at the rock, the wrong way to be like, 42, 43. But then I rolled it back to 1080p. And if you're just playing with Ultra, which is kind of like shocking because I never did it on the 2060, but I tested it with like that 980 before that. It was rough, man. It was doing good if I could hit mid 50s. Now, anywhere from 60 to 100 unless it's raining and there's like 15 NPCs on screen because you genuinely cocked up and you've had to run up the wall of a building and they're all hovering around you.
Shooting arrows at your butt. Yeah.
Pretty much.
I mean, I was just gonna say you're thinking about looking at a rock funny because they have sexy Shelob in Shadow of War, so they're gonna have like sexy Scorpion the Rock from the Scorpion King in Shadow of War as DLC. Just shows up all greased up. Yeah, no, on the 1080 Ti at UHD with everything cranked up. Yeah, in game was getting around 65 to 77 FPS, just like walking around. This is with the 6700K and the 1080 Ti. So. Yeah, it's pretty solid performance-wise with the Vulkan beta.
It's very important that they roll this out and show it. And they're like, yo, I mean, we can still outperform DXVK at this point. Also, Pedro, what do you think? When I saw this, I was like, when are you going to do this to Deus Ex? Because I've had that game for like 3 years and I can't play it. Even on a 2060.
That's the one that fucking needs it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. That one really, really fucking needs it because... No matter which processor you have, because with the Shadow of Mordor, you could get away with it if you had an Intel processor. Absolutely. Case in point, El Cheapo has a very cheap quad-core Intel processor, and at 1080p Ultra with the old IndirectX thing, the benchmark averaged at 59 FERPs. That's very good. That's very good. Of course, then you change it to the Vulkan beta, and it goes, 86 on average. Like, okay, there's a bit of a difference there. But yeah, with Deus Ex, you don't get that. Deus Ex, the game just runs like poop everywhere. So, no.
Deus Ex didn't run good on Windows either, so
yeah. I mean, this is where we get into like Arkham Knight territory of like it just didn't run well. Period. So
don't bring it. Say that name in my presence.
but this is actually super. This sort of work is super critical given our next story.
Yeah, baby.
Where
indeed,
Yo,
and Farrell dropped the news right at the start of the week. Actually, Shadow of the Tomb Raider Definitive Edition, Mac OS and Linux on November the 5th. Remember the 5th of November, said Farrell, and they dropped some Lara Croft, or some new Lara Croft, for us to play around with. So that's very, very nice to see. I totally didn't, name drop them when I was doing the video for El Cheapo. It's like saying, can we get Shadow of the Tomb Raider? That'd be nice. And here they go. So
Pedro's taking credit for it.
Oh, 100%, man. Yeah. All I can say about that is like 100% about damn time. Now, what is it? It's like the ultimate Turbo Cock Smasher 9000 edition because it's a regular game plus $97.85 watt stinky pence of DLC. To which I saw a lot of people going, well, if I already bought it, like, really? Didn't we have this discussion?
Well, yeah. Wait for the native version. Well, I mean, here's the thing, though, is on release, we're gonna see if Farrell has the business model for Linux anymore. Because if good old DXVK can out of the box with minimal modifications give a better experience than what Farrell's custom tailor-made stuff can do, it's kind of the writing on the wall for like native Linux ports, right? Like why bother if DXVK will do it better?
I think they're going to be able to do it better, though. The thing is like the timeliness of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because
this is going to raise
be the my hand
test.
with this. This better be 1999, Farrell. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's the price is, well, the game didn't come out all that long ago, so
2 years
it's
ago.
still AAA price
2 years ago.
for Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
I think it was like
Didn't that come out this year?
No, I know it's been in sale over 50% off.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider was released in 2018, September 14th. So it's about a year old.
Okay, so a year ago,
Yeah.
right?
All right, that's cool. Do we have some new games?
We do. Like Connect, for example, which is another one of these sort of hacking puzzle role-playing hacker games. If you're like a illegal hacker operating system like Linux, I mean, the description kind of tells you what it is right away. Dive into a deep world of cyber hacking. I kind of giggled at work about that. But yeah, it does like hacker puzzles, right? This one apparently has like a story and multiple endings though, which is kind of interesting. You can get it for about $5 Canadian, which is pretty cheap. Oh look, someone has SSH open. Oh, that's cute. Someone has Telnet open.
Do you know, I was reading what you put in the notes, and this is the first time I'm watching the video. I was like, but that's not taking itself seriously. It's
Metasploit. Yeah,
it's having fun.
Yeah.
I'm down with that. 419. It's currently 30% off, man. And that's, what do we need? Anything special? Nope. Just 1 gigahertz processor and the elusive 1 gig DIMM.
I mean, those are not that elusive.
Okay, hang on.
Pedro,
hang on. All
right.
1 gig of DDR3.
1 gig of DDR4.
DDR2.
1 gig of DDR4 is hard. Yeah, okay. DDR3, very
DDR2,
doable.
you can. I mean, challenge mode is trying to find some DDR2
and
for sale.
I want that 1 gig stick when like that new Corsair hotness is like 4 gigahertz.
Yeah,
I wanted to vibrate on the board, man.
Oh yeah, no, they get the memory speeds like so high, but they can only sell you like 512 megs a pop.
Right. Just gotta spread it out, man, and get like 4 gigs in Threadripper HDT. Oh man, I look forward to that future. Jackbox, it's we played a little bit of it.
We did
last night. Party Pack 6. Good on Jackbox Games. Same day Linux release. Bad on. Still at 720p in windowed mode because we can't break that habit, can we? A gang of new games. There's a sequel to Trivia Murder Party 2. Push the Button, which is the spaceship game where you try to like aliens. There's one where we had to rework definitions. And
that one was actually pretty fun.
That one seems like that. And then there's this one that no one really understood the rules to.
Yeah.
That. I really couldn't tell you. It's supposed to, like, what, predict the type of person?
Yeah, predict the type of personality you are. It told me that I was a non-anxious philosopher, which is complete garbage. It got Jill right on the money, though. It was like a by the books book nerd or something. Like,
Okay.
yeah, it's
it's there. Dig around into it. It's interesting to see .swf in 2019.
indeed.
But
I
it was
mean,
okay.
They work.
It's a party game,
That's
right?
the thing.
And one of the good things about it, I mean, you can just buy your copy and just send people the room code.
Yeah,
Like, boom,
Yep.
come play. You can do it on mobile.
indeed. It's good stuff. All right. End of Steam news coming up next. It's been a while since we talked about brand new NVIDIA drivers, but have you heard about the new RTX hotness for Hello Kitty?
And I suppose it's time we took a bit of a break from the news to, well, talk about something that...
How do we take a break
really
from the
no
news?
one's
We haven't
very-
even gotten to the news, man. What's wrong with you?
Well, there's the Steam news, and then there's the actual news. It's... Yeah.
You're sending me mixed messages, man. I don't know whether to hug you or lick you.
I think you should do both.
At the same
Yes.
time? Is that allowed?
You shouldn't lick your pager though, otherwise you might experience horrible hallucinations or just awful cigarette taste. But if you want to spare yourself that, you can head on over to LinuxGameCast.com. Click on or mouse over that support button. We got all sorts of options for you to click on, like our merch. Yeah, we got merch. We have t-shirts. We got stickers. We got coffee mugs. We don't have bathrobes yet, but soon.
You know, I can do full body print. Oh, I think we could do bathrobes, but
Can we do like latex bodysuits?
maybe a special Christmas bathrobe. Maybe we'll do that.
Yeah. I'm down with that. But yeah, you can clothe yourself in LGC apparel and make people very confused when they look at you while you're walking.
Confused with your clothes. See, you licked Pedro. I can tell by the
does not confused. We also got a wish list. We also got wish lists for all of us.
All of them.
Yeah, including the studio. If you want to like buy some capture cards or one of those really cheap. Well, they're now cheap Tesla cards or whatever.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
Quadros.
it's practically
Yeah,
giving them away.
it's a bargain. Or maybe you want to buy Pedro or myself something. We got wish lists as well. You can look at that. I'm still waiting on that butter infuser, man. One day.
So as soon as you get back from the doctor, you're like, I gotta lower my cholesterol. I'm cutting that check.
It's critical for podcasting that I be able to infuse butter with things. Don't ask me why.
That poor hamster.
He never stood a chance. We also got a Patreon if you want to, continually help us out. Being a Patreon gets you all sorts of neat, nifty stuff, like access to the Discord channel, show notes. You can RSVP to game streams. We were doing some multiplayer games yesterday and Thursday. We were doing some HedgeWars and some Jackbox. If you want to come play with us, you absolutely can if you're a Patreon. You also get access to the pre Super Shows, which is an extra hour of just us bullshitting.
We got a straight up audio
bullshit.
stream of that. You get your own custom RSS feed for podcasts as a way of like, hey man, thanks for supporting our little independent horse and buggy show. And even at certain levels, like executive producers, we have a live video stream an hour beforehand. So you can come in and say disparaging remarks about our mother. And we'll say, thank you so much for making our dreams come true. We don't say it like Pedro does sometimes. I don't, but hey man, you get the idea. It's beautiful.
I do it ironically. We got to give big ups to our returning Patreon, though. Kai Linux, thank you very, very much for tossing us some cash week in and week out. No, you've been gone for a while. We still love you. We love you even more now that you're giving us cash. That's how this works.
It was
it's
gone
very
for
transactional.
a month?
Yeah. Like any good relationship, this is purely transactional. You give us stuff, we give you stuff.
Hey man, we got to stay honest with it though, because it's like you need maybe do a monthly thing on Patreon. That doesn't require us to do anything. This, we only say, hey man, if we make something, boom, 4 quarters a week. That's 16 quarters a month. I don't know, man. I mean, $10,000 a week. That'd be brilliant. This all ends with one of two things. Jordan drawing a picture of Pedro naked.
Other way around.
It's the other way around.
I can dream. Shut up. Shortly after or possibly right before we end up doing a morning radio drive time show in Australia. It's going to be interesting. Now,
Draw me like one of your Portuguese women.
Before we get there, we will build a log cabin in Kansas and hook it up with fiber, then probably have a blowout party for about a month before the band breaks up. But it'll be a while.
Before it actually blows up, like with explosives and everything.
But just in case you just bought a $3,000 NVIDIA card, there's some new hotness that you can play with.
Indeed.
Yes, although that particular one has been supported for a while, this, on the other hand, is the long-lived beta branch that's going to be out soon, but Mr. Aaron Plattner himself decided to post on the NVIDIA dev forums like, yo, we have a beta for the 440 long-lived branch, so go ahead and test it, and those are some significant release highlights as he describes them, and because if you ever looked at one of the change logs for the NVIDIA drivers, they're usually minuscule. So yeah, no, these are very detailed. So yeah, go ahead and test. Let them know if you run into any significant issues, and I guess now we know what the release version for the long-lived branch will be. It's 440.
I was thinking about something with the NVIDIA drivers, unlike because I do a lot of video work here, and with the NVIDIA drivers, you can actually install the drivers and game with them. There's not like, with AMD, where you want to use, Resolve or Blender. You better install the
AMD
official,
GPU Pro.
Right, in order to make sure everything works right. So I would say good on AMD for that. Also double good for NVIDIA is they're still fixing DXVK, man. Like, isn't that a weird thing to see in the changelog? I'm like, what?
I remember the first time we saw Wine in there, and it's like, what the hell is happening? Right. But, as we brought up, DXVK and Wine do some weird OpenGL and Vulkan stuff, and this will poke holes in their implementation, so it's good to see them fixing it. If you don't want to play Saints Row the 3rd or Saints Row 4th using Eon virtual programming, you can now play it with DXVK, which no longer has corruption issues in those games. They also added some EGL support for prime render offloading, which means that Wayland-based window managers are going to have an easier time implementing, GPU switching on laptops, which is still a thing we have to deal with. But now it is natively supported in the driver if you're going to be using GNOME. I think KDE is not using EGL, so there's still going to be a bit of a thing there. Yeah.
I will be very happy when that pissing contest is over. Because that is two stubborn entities, man.
EGL streams versus whatever the fuck GNOME is using, yeah.
NVIDIA will remaster more games with RTX on, bitches. 100%. This includes a mystery game you know and love. I, for one, look forward to playing more games outside of Quake 2 RTX on my 2060 between 35 and 40 FERPs at 1080p for like 5 minutes, going, that's neat, and never touching
14
again.
frames a second, baby. Yeah, RTX on. Dude. So I'm just going to call it here. In before Hello Kitty RTX Island Adventure. It's happening. Man, no. It's happening. Ray tracing all those kitties.
I am curious to see which games they will pick. I mean, if you go from the one that they have right now, there's a lot of
before
classic.
Or after they get done with Doom 3?
Yeah, the Doom 3.
That
game
actually probably
had
benefit.
Mixed reception at best.
It's going to be even darker, man.
Well, no, I think with like accurately ray traced light and shadows, that might actually like help with the atmosphere of Doom 3 quite a bit.
Yeah, that might work.
Of course, when the monsters come out and
Quake.
you shoot them twice.
It's just panic shooting, walking indoors backwards at the game.
Yeah.
I can't think of
OG
anything.
Quake, I can see that.
Yes, yeah. I don't know, man. Do you think we'll get like
Quake 3 maybe?
Yeah.
No, we're getting Deus Ex Mankind Divided RTX.
Chuck.
But that's not open source, though.
Well, it's NVIDIA, man. They don't say it has to be open source. I don't know. It'd be interesting to.
They went for Quake 2. It's like, this is one of the open source engines that's been.
Pedro, they went for Quake 2 because one of their interns did the heavy lifting.
Someone already like did most of the work.
As a side project, and they're like,
Yeah, we could make that better. We can add some official support. So I don't know. Maybe they got some board interns this time around. But
Really?
we're talking about DXVK. We got some new DXVK version 1.4.3, and it is delightfully dull. They implemented a new state cache file format that's going to be a little bit smaller. And now you're on startup. Now your old state files will be converted to the new format, which will hopefully free up a little bit of hard drive space. It's kind of nice. More CPU overhead improvements. They've been reducing it and trying to get the translation costs as low as possible. And it's a little weird not seeing any game-specific updates in DXVK updates. But you know what? Maintenance is good. It means the last release they had implemented the API version that was latest supported in Windows. So I think they have most of the work done now. It's just trying to polish it off and like make it maintainable, make it more performant, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, one of the things I'm thinking about is boring is sometimes good, because we're at the part with DXVK where a lot of the compatibility stuff, that business has been sorted. Now they can focus on things like, let's ramp up the speed with a steady release like that, right?
Yeah, well, and that makes sense, especially when they're also not just, the speed improvements, but they're also introducing fixes to how MSA works. And if you've tried to use Wine to play Windows games on Linux at any point, you probably remember how big of a crapshoot multi-sampling anti-aliasing used to be. And they also fixed some Microsoft Visual C compiler warnings. That those need to be fixed.
That's always nice. But now that ACO development is like in full swing, and at least the first draft is in Mesa already. Now I think we're going to start seeing a lot more like closer collaboration between these two sides of Valve. The guys who are working on DXVK and the guys who are working on the new Mesa compilers. We're going to start seeing some pretty impressive performance games. I think they're already saying that like their DirectX 11 best case is faster than Windows. So maybe that's just going to be more. That's just going to be more commonplace now.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, I mean, no matter how you look at this with Native and whatever, this is in the future going to be essential for game preservation. Because Windows is not going to be something you have installed in 10 years, man. So
we'll get to that.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get to that.
Ladies and gentlemen, 2,500 DOS games have been added to the archive from the 90s. That's right. We're talking like
Kick Blanc on the balls.
Mortal Kombat, The Simpsons games. They're all there, and you can play them through your browser. That's pretty cool, man. Underworld 1, Underworld 2, Elder Scrolls, Daggerfall, Ultima, man, Alone in the Dark, Secret of Monkey Island, Doom. Doom's something I was like, wait a minute. I got to do this. So I went to the Internet Archive, I went to the game segment. All of these links will be in our show notes. Don't worry about it. Played Doom in a browser. I mean,
yeah,
admittedly, a little chuggy, but it's playing Doom in a browser, Brad.
I mean, I've played it on a literal calculator before.
Yeah,
so,
assuming that Oculus got what was it, Unreal, the 1999 version, working on a browser, yeah, I think Doom is feasible.
Oh no, but you got some pretty nice games in there, like the Ultima series, Eye of the Beholder,
Wipeout.
Yeah, Golden Axe is on there. A bunch of old story games. OG Mech Warrior. It's pretty slick, right? Like,
yeah.
Once upon a time, you had to go like track down a floppy image or an exe, and then like load up DOSBox. Now you can just click on it and play it in your freaking browser. That's pretty.
I had a fun time with it. Was I also played Mortal Kombat. Good luck deciphering what keyboard commands could even get in the game. I gave up after that, but I noticed the download was like 40 megs. It's like, that's how, because I remember thinking I had that for DOS on my i386, and that thing was just a juggernaut. I had to wipe out basically all of my storage to install it. I think it was like 7 or 8 disks. It came on, and I was like, oh, wow.
There's also a couple of fan games in here, too. These aren't all official releases. Like, there's a bunch of extra Doom levels and shit, too. So, again, speaking of preservation, this is good. It makes it all readily available and easily playable. So good on you, archive.org. You should give these guys money because they
if you don't give us money, go give these guys money. Seriously.
they provide a super critical service in terms of like trying to preserve the internet.
Right. And they found a good use for a church.
Indeed. The only good use for a church.
ScummVM.
Yeah, they got a new release out. This is 2.10 Electric Sheep. They improved some text-to-speech support under Linux. 16 new games are supported, including Duckman, which, I hadn't thought about Duckman in years. It's a fun show. So one thing that did stick out to me, though, is apparently the new version of Myst is supported. So remember way back when they had the Kickstarter, they were like, yeah, we're remastering Myst, and we're not going to have Linux support, but we're using ScummVM. And we're like, how do you do that? Well, as it turns out, Scum's just going to scum and make it supported. So you can just play the remastered version under Linux natively, because why the fuck not?
Yeah, they basically were like, yeah, fuck you, and here's a side of fuck you too. Fuck Linux. I'm like, really? You gotta be like that?
Cyan's been kind of a dick to Linux.
Whatever happened? Do you remember that demo that we had?
That's what I was going to bring up. They had a Kickstarter that had a demo that was working on Linux, and then the Kickstarter ended, and the Linux version went.
Well, that was the thing. They were using ScummVM even for that one. So, what's even the point?
That was the name of the game. Obduction. Yeah.
Man. But suck it, Science Studios. We're gonna play your game anyways.
Right. Where there's a will, there's a penguin.
Well, if you're gonna use your remastered, you can use an open source tool to do your remastered version.
Seriously, I mean, if you know somebody named Will, check their house, you'll find a penguin.
Also, not wrong. Speaking of people you should give money that aren't us, Godot. They're working on their Vulkan implementation. Juan Linietsky has given his fourth progress report. Sure, whatever. They have a new spatial metering. Man, I can't talk today. Spatial material has been renamed to standard material to better indicate that you should actually use this for your material stuff. They've also added a performance profiler and support for the basic universal texture format, which should result in about a 25% reduction of texture sizes, which is pretty handy. Work is continuing to go on smoothly, it looks like. So the next major release of Godot will have Vulkan support. And that'll be pretty nice. So then you can have, open source Vulkan games. It's great. You don't even need to make them open source, but the engine is, so.
And one of the things that he does mention is okay, there are no post-processing effects yet. So if you're looking to do fancy stuff with the Vulkan on Godot, not there yet. But he's making very good time. When was the first one? 2 months ago? 3 months ago? Yeah, that's pretty good.
Being paid to work on something full time is very helpful for getting progress.
Oh yeah,
right. And you get to work on something like that, you put a lot into it, and we've having just massive progress on that. Very happy to see, especially with the early days of Godot and the stats of Vulkan. Never catch on. We're gonna do this OpenGL ELS. Yeah, that's the future.
Then Molten VK came along and they're like, oh, well, we can support Mac now? Yeah, fuck OpenGL.
Yeah, all right.
So Vulkan works on everything now. All right.
Including Google Stadia, which is launching at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on November 19th for pre-order. They even sent me an email after I tested the beta, and I got an email. I was like, are you just going to ship me one? And they're like, nah, Brad, buy one, $129. Eat a bag of dicks. But for that, you can get the controller in it. Will hook into your Wi-Fi and TVs, and then you'll be like, I don't know, maybe this will work, maybe it won't. For me, it's a hard sell. $10 a month for the privilege of buying games. But you do get to test out how negative latency works, and who can turn down a deal like that? Easy.
Here's the thing, Google,
you gave it to me for free. Last Christmas, almost a year ago. I kind of played around with it, man. When you try to bring money into the relationship.
$129
for
the controller and the 4K
Chromecast
thingy. And you get to play games in UHD. Okay, and they also say in 2020 they'll be releasing the free version, heavy air quotes around free there, that only lets you play games at 1080p, which is fine by me, and you just have to pay for the games that you play, and you'll be able to use another controller. All you need is a Chrome browser. Okay, I'll wait. I'll wait.
One thing I do like is apparently Football Manager is like, oh yeah, Stadia is the new way to experience this. They dropped Linux support in Football Manager 2019, but they're running on Stadia, which is not running Windows. Anyways, so, you talk about the pricing, but it's actually not that bad considering you're effectively renting hardware, right? Like, because you could easily drop about $1,500 on a beefy up-to-date gaming rig, which represents about 12 years of Stadia fees, even if you're paying for the Turbo Ultra Cock Smasher package. Even El Cheapo represents about 3 years of subscription costs. So it's actually not too bad in terms of hardware expenditure, and you don't have to worry necessarily about upgrading things. Now, whether or not the solution actually works is to be determined. And whether or not Google's not going to abandon it in like 3 years, as they're often want to do, is another question. And at what point, what happens to all those games that you bought? Are they going to be like, bye, Felicia, too fucking bad about that?
That's a serious damn question that needs answering. On top of, you got to factor in the price of maybe you don't have fuck you bandwidth package. You're like, whoa, wait, I got to upgrade in order to play my 4K.
You need 20 megabits for the 1080p version? Probably double that for the UHD version?
If that's the only thing in your house using it.
Or if you're on cable, how many people are playing Stadia games in your neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
But I can also see Jordan's argument is like, okay, so all you need is a Raspberry Pi with Chromium built in, and you're playing games at UHD.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, the other thing too is they're supporting stuff like the Chromebooks and
I'm gonna go out on a limb and tell you that it'll be a junk experience, but okay.
Maybe not. It's all conjecture at this point until one of us actually bites the bullet and tries it.
I'm just going by
2020
encoding chipset available on the Pi 4 versus what it could actually push out, and sweetheart, it struggles with 1080p 30.
We'll see what Canadian Fiber can do for it. We'll see if we can make it perform worse.
If you enable the hardware acceleration, because it does not come enabled by default, it actually does all right.
It can do 1080p 60 with one application. That's if you build yourself FFmpeg 4.
Indeed.
Anyway, hey man.
So, speaking of really underpowered hardware that can play some games, well, the fine folks at Analogue have a new project out, and they're in the past, what they've been known for is like having
That's a bold damn claim. Pedro, yes. This website's trying to tell me it's a digital audio workstation, and I got a digital audio workstation. It's a big ass box over here in the corner. You telling me I can replace Jackbox with this?
It's as much as an Android phone is, yes. The big difference between this and an Android phone is that this is done specifically to play old cartridge games like your Game Boys, and they claim that it can play all the Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance cartridges right now, and you can it has 2 FPGAs on the system, and you can basically use one to play the games and do something else with the other. And they're trying to market this as a like a dev kit, and at that point I can sort of kind of justify the $200 price tag. But the other side of me is going, wait a second, you can emulate all of those games and more on a $100 Android It's like, oh, okay. That's twice the price. I still kind of want it, though. I still kind of want it. I was a fan of the OG Game Boy form factor, and I still got a bunch of Game Boy carts kicking around, even though all their batteries are dead, so I'd have to crack them open and replace them. But yeah. I kind of want it. It's slick looking.
Well, do you know one advantage your phone has?
It does more than play games?
It gets robocalls?
I was going to say it's not just a 3D render, because that's all I'm seeing on that website. I didn't see an actual product.
But it's Analog. They have put out other systems with a very similar
I'm aware of the
mentality
Analog
to this.
NT, Pedro. I'm not completely stupid.
Yeah.
Completely.
There's wiggle room.
Completely. All right, coming up next. We've it's been a while since we've thrown chairs at an open source game that wasn't Super Tux Kart. Let's change that. HedgeWars.
1.0.
Welcome back to the free Libre open source, locally sourced, artisanal handmade CHAIRQASITION, where the accused must survive trial by Fedora, Solus, and Debuan. And then, only then can the question be asked, is it fun? This week, we're taking a look at HedgeWars 1.0. Oh my god, it's developed by the HedgeWars project, done on SDL, Qt, and Lua on a custom engine. It's free and open source, so you can just, if you want to download 50 megs of dependencies or find a build service that provides it, you can just pick it up there. What is it? HedgeWars is a turn-based strategy, artillery, action, and comedy game featuring the antics of pink hedgehogs with attitude as they battle from the depths of hell to the depths of space. Yeah, it's open source. Go support these guys. We need more open source. That was supposed to be
hedgehogs? I guess it makes sense.
Something like that. All right. They're copyright infringing. How to run on Debian?
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. As I look for, there we go. Ha.
Show notes.
Yes. It's the thing. Speaking of dependencies, over here, Debian 10.1 on the Threadripper 1920X 2060 UHD displayed box of business, 32 gigajoules of RAM, putting it right in my face pixels. Dependencies out of the box, 500 megs minimum. That's if you don't want to do the server. You want to install the server, it's 1.2 gigs. You got to do that. Copy pasta on their web zone is legit. I tested it. I rarely do that, but I read before I did that. That will get you a working build on, Debian, Ubuntu, Mint, any Deb-based system. Shouldn't be an issue. Performance, hey man, look at it. Yeah, it runs fine. It does okay on the 2060 at 1080. Graphics for a floss game, come on. It looks all right, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. 100% on that. And with the controls, even though the default keyboard controls are maniacal, they do technically work, so I can't fault them. HedgeWars 1.0 allow me to give you a clean bill of health.
Yeah, on Fedora 3064-bit with the i7-6700K with the Spectre mitigations turned on, and the GTX 1080 Ti. So I didn't build this one because I'm lazy. I went to koji.fedoraproject.com. They have someone put up a build for HedgeWars 1.0. I installed it. It worked. I provide the link to that in the show notes, so if you're on Fedora and you just want to grab it and don't want to compile it, or if you don't feel like waiting for it to hit the official Fedora repo, which will happen in due time. Yeah, performance in 1080p. Once it spawns that 1080p window that you actually play the game in, yeah, man, just fine. No real issues. I had the FPS counter on and it was humming along. Graphics, yeah, it's little copyright infringing SVGs. You're not seeing it in this video, but like Sandy straight up had like the copyright infringement brigade. It was pretty hilarious. Go watch the Thursday stream for that. And controls, yeah, use the arrow keys and right click and you will have a good time. I will give it 4 chairs for the workings.
Yeah, I got the flat pack version from Ithenium, and it worked out of the box on the Ryzen 7 3700X with the GTX 1080. And it defaults to locking the FERPs at 125. I didn't see a reason to unblock it, so that stayed. Yeah, it took me a while to figure out that once you get it to game proper, it spawns a different window. But yeah, changing the zoom makes no difference in the menu, which is kind of where you want to be able to read the text. So the text is always going to be teeny tiny if you so much as attempt to play it at 2160p. So yeah, I'm digging in a chair for that because that clearly isn't doing what it's supposed to do. And the controls, yeah, the mouse and gerbil out of the box. So for me, it gets 3 chairs.
All right, well, there you go. Did you have fun with it, Ven?
Hang on, I'm looking for buttons. Ta-da!
Buttons!
Buttons. That's how I felt about it. Buttons all the thing. Let me be the first, but not last, to say, this is floss worms, okay? There's nothing wrong with that, since, worms seems to be universally loved by, like, 6 people. Now, if you don't know what worms be, think gorilla.bat, turn to 11, and when you're done thinking about that, get off my lawn. You're going to be spread across a destructible environment with a satchel of guns, explosives, drills, and other assorted bits of mayhem and nonsense. I approve of this. Then you take timer-based turns, trying to murder each other to death. Again, I'm with it. Definitely can dig that. Most importantly, this game has what all gamers crave: online multiplayer. Working online multiplayer. Brilliant, like that. Unfortunately, the UI for setting up multiplayer teams and the like is downright hostile And that's putting it nice, man. Not the fun kind of hostile, the bad kind. Is there a fun kind of hostile? There probably is, man, when you think about it. On behalf of, like, here's the thing. You have this window that you start. You're like, oh, hi, game. I'm going to adjust my frames, set up teams. If you can decrypt that. Why isn't anything changing? Oh, well, it just, boom, other window pops up. Surprise window. It's like, oh, there's the game. Okay. That happened, but I do want to say on behalf of people using OBS to stream the game to the internet, that pop-up window, Brad, that pop-up window, that's some unnecessary bullshit. That's going to stop streamers in their tracks. In fact, if you go to Twitch right now, search for HedgeWars. One video, and it's the one we did. Yeah. Which is kind of sad because I like the game. You know, as far as the point release, it runs great. Online multiplayer, again, it makes for the working. And it has the added benefit of just being a little bit of all right as a game itself. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the mechanics of it. I mean, it's always been a fun game, even back in like 2004. And also, I got a lot of love for these guys. Also, Wiki. Eat a bag of dicks. Quit deleting their Wiki page. This has been a recurring issue. However, if you are playing in Forever Alone mode, it's kind of boring. And that 2.1 UI stuff, that just needs to die in a fire. But best of all, this is free Libre open source software. So you don't have to worry about 2-hour restrictions for your refunds, man. So go check it out. There should be nothing stopping you, especially if you have some people to play it with. But on the fun, man, with a multiplayer, outside of the irritations of like getting things set up, so what I want, man. Solid 2. Good work, guys.
Yeah, like Ven said, it's Worms. And like Worms, you basically need multiplayer to be fun because the AI is just like straight up better than you because it knows how the game actually works. And, you know, like I said on the stream on Thursday, 2 to 4 is sort of the ideal group size for this. If you have 8, it splits up to 8 people for the room size, and that's a little much. I think those games would tend to drag.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Like even with 3 people, it was starting to drag near the end. Is like we were all separated and just trying to like get to each other without murdering ourselves in the process. Single player not so much. Again, like I said, the bots are better than you, but it's fun enough for what it is. You know, you can kill your friends with funny little weapons using funny little voices, etc., etc. But yeah, definitely for version 1.1, work on that UI. I think you got the gameplay down pat pretty good. It's just a matter of, you know, actually getting into the game so you can play it is the is where the problems tend to come up. So I'll give it 2 chairs. It's all right. It's a party game. Have fun with it. It's free.
Yep, it is open source Worms to a fault. Worms was always a bit janky. It always had a bit of jank to it. But HedgeWars, it takes that jank and janks it up. You know how in Worms, sometimes you'll have just that one teeny tiny little bit of terrain that you can barely see or not see at all, but then you try to shoot someone through that particular bit of terrain and that bazooka shot just blows up in your face? Well, that issue shows up a lot in HedgeWars, like a lot, and it can literally be a 1x1 pixel that's in your way and you can't see it, but it's there and it's going to fuck you. And yeah, even the footage that you're watching right now, that is supposedly like medium difficulty CPU. They're kicking my ass. They're kicking my ass all over the place, and it's fun if you're playing it with other people. I actually caught a bit of Ven, Jordan, and Sandy's stream playing HedgeWars, and yeah, that was actually a heck of a lot of fun. But it's playing it alone. It, like Jordan and Ven already said, it's like, no, not going to be a fun time. I wouldn't sit down and play HedgeWars or even Worms by myself. And version 1.0 didn't really do anything to change my mind in that particular matter. So 2 chairs.
Well, there you go. It's all right. Get some friends to play it, and you will have a blast. If you're alone, go play Rogue or NetHack or some other game. Coming. Anything else people got to say? We're done?
No, well, is there?
No, not really. It's HedgeWars.
All right. I don't think there is. Coming up next, we talk about how we get our woodies and whether or not El Cheapo will give you one.
Well, this week you probably didn't have as much fodder for some hate mail like you did last week, because last week there was almost a 2-hour show. So, yeah, plenty of fodder for that one. But this week, well, maybe not so much. But I'm sure if you look hard enough or you listen hard enough.
What if I look farther enough?
You may see Elvis.
Well, isn't that kind of like if I'm trying to look hard enough, but I'm having a stroke? And it's kind of weird. But we don't
Jordan
address it.
is looking hard enough, but then again, that's
Jordan checked out in the news segment. What are you talking about? He hasn't been here.
Where am I?
If you'd like
Who
to get
are
in
you
touch
people?
with us and let us know exactly who you are and what you do, you can send some hate mail to LGC Weekly from the contact page on LinuxGameCast.com. Make sure LGC Weekly is the show you pick and fill out the form. It's pretty easy. You can also ask Jordan for relationship advice, and if you're a game developer, make sure you include 3 keys or a build that we can share amongst all of us. That shouldn't be too hard nowadays. I mean, if
somebody sent us some keys. Wait a minute.
Yeah, actually sent us 3 keys on Curator Connect.
I don't
Challenge
very
mode.
good.
Have to log into Curator Connect.
Yeah, but still, they counted the correct number, and that's really nice. If you don't do that, I mean, we're good with games, so have fun with that not getting redeemed. But we might take a look at. I wish I knew what the game was. I looked at it because I had that reaction. It was like 3. Ah, good. I just never got back around to it.
It's a match 3 game. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's a match 3 game, and it's 2. It has a 2 on the end.
Right on. So
Match 3-2, the one ending.
Somebody liked a reference that was made.
Yes, apparently Ven made a reference, and Mike G picked up on it. In reference to the Atari story, I'm impressed that Ven was able to weave Aliens, Monty Python, and the Holy Grail, and the Wizard of Oz references all in one segment. Well done. Love the show. Haven't been able to catch many of these live lately. Ha ha ha! Calling you out right now, Mike G. You're watching us live right now.
Does that have like more effect when you do it to Nori?
It has a different effect.
Just hits me with a frying pan or whatever's at hand.
I will pay. Would you match me on this, Jordan? Like,
you know what? Well, let's negotiate. But I'm on board. Let's just say that.
Okay.
Yeah, no. With Nori, I just get shit thrown at me if I start being annoying.
No. It doesn't necessarily have to be thrown. We just need direct face frying. I mean, I'll get you a nice frying pan too.
Oh, yeah, we can get her a nice.
Uh-oh.
Yep,
Blinked.
there we go. Network problem occurred. Reconnecting.
Oh no. Kaboom. Is it? Are we going to get?
Is he coming back?
Maybe.
Oh, that was
Yeah,
weird.
there he is.
Only Jitsi dropped. I refreshed another page just to see if it was still working.
Yeah.
No, it was just Jitsi.
Damn you, Channel 3.
That was a weird blink. All right. We're not even going to bother cutting around that, baby. What do we got up next?
Okay.
Up next week, we got some hate mail from Pedro regarding El Cheapo from Don. He says, I got a 1 terabyte 7200 RPM drive, 8-core AMD FX, and 16 gigabytes DDR3, and I've never had the Steam load big picture mode that slow. It's pretty snappy to load things for a spinning mechanical drive of the slower sleep, non-10K RPM rapid drive.
Okay, so you say you've got it. Have you actually compared the speed to loading Steam Big Picture Mode from an SSD? Because I actually pulled an SSD from one of the laptops, loaded it up on there, and it's significantly faster. Yeah, the hard drives are just slow.
On an NVMe, well, actually, I have, well, Steam's on an NVMe. All the games are on SSD. On a 12-core, 24-thread system, Steam is the slowest damn thing in all the whole box, man.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Steam takes a while, but yeah, these things are slow. like
I was downloading Shadow Mordor to do the Vulkan test today, and it ate up all my CPU downloading that freaking game.
How?
I don't know.
Steam, are you in the beta?
I am in the beta.
Yeah, the beta, it takes up a lot of CPU.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
I had to roll out of that beta, man. Nope, it just bit me too many times, man. So, if you have thoughts, hints, allegations, I want to thank everybody who sent us some messages, Mike G and Don. Thank you for that. I want your elusive non-10K Raptor not drive to use because Steve's
the Velociraptors, like the Seagates.
Clever girl.
Those don't fail ever.
Motherfucker, I would, when you buy an NVMe drive, if it was green labeled clever girls. Fuck yes, I'd buy that.
Yep. And NVMe Raptor Clever Girl Edition.
Fuck yeah.
It comes with the fucking hat.
Oh, the pipe.
Oh, it was Western Digital. All right, they still failed.
No, you're thinking Seagate.
Ladies and gentlemen, on that bombshell, let's cue the music. You can always find us around 8:30 Eastern, Daylight Time, DT, whatever. Type it into Google. It'll tell you something. If you're a patron, come check us out an hour beforehand for the Pre-Super Citizen. That's our production meeting and where we discuss movies and artificial intelligence and other fantastically boring things. I'm Vin Stone. You can find me at Vin Stone. At Vin Stone? Yeah, that works. On Twitter or just at Vin on mass.linuxgamecast.com. I'm on the socials. Leave us a comment on the YouTube videos. Rate us on iTunes or whatever you wacky kids do. And we love you for it.
I'm Jordan Swung. I am the cleverest girl, and that's why all the boys follow me on Twitter at The Burning Fool or out on Mastodon at Frojo at mass.linuxgamecast.com. I know what that URL is. Shut up.
Yeah, my milkshake brings no boys to the yard, and you can find me on Twitter at unaccounted4. If you're looking for puns like that, I'm sorry, I don't really do social media all that much. I usually just retweet people and say it's like, oh, we're going live. So yeah, my Twitter is very sad.
Jordan,
now I want a milkshake.
Jordan, what did we learn other than milkshake?
I'm just stuck on Milkshake Man. Pass.
How about some credits then, since we didn't learn?
The saddest of milkshakes.
All right. Well, we got to thank all the people who are rolling by in this Star Wars-esque credit sequence, even though that was the opening crawl and not how the credits went. I thank the Patreons like Arthurian and Mr. Fox Dog and Chemty, Atomic Ass, Mechel G, who sent some hate mail, Barbrandt, Aldius Haplo, Mac Geek, Scoot Droomer, and the lovely producers.
And a gang of them.
Is that a horse or a cow? I'm not
those
sure.
Are horses, you monster. I'm sorry about the jerky credits. I had Discord open when I was recording it, and Discord in the web browser does that.
Indeed. Well, gotta thank Todd.
Big kudos
Majak.
to Kai Linux, who returned as one of our producers. So
there
thank you.
Adrian! He's getting bigger. Oh God! Stop feeding him!
No.
Stop feeding him!
No.
Frank! No! Frank, that's it. That's it. I'm gonna stop feeding him milkshakes. It's too much calcium.
Frank's
it's making
back.
his bones grow.
No. He has superpowers. The calcium. He craves.
Teleported. He's phasing through the walls. Oh
He
my
is the
God!
He's like Dr. Manhattan, but with more
I'm
bathrobes.
gonna give you a pro tip, dude. If you're hanging around Frank and you see him phase through a wall, it's over. Don't even bother running. That's it. It's a wrap.
Make peace with your God and
Died if I ever
Kids want to
was.
see that body.
5 dudes.